We haven't built in any tariffs in our base case, so we are still looking for Asia's growth to be holding up quite fine. But we are only evaluating the tariff scenarios as risk scenarios because, as you know, you need to first get through the U.S. elections and see whether you get President Trump reelected or it is going to be Vice President Kamala Harris, who is going to be elected. So I think that will determine whether you see that tariff risk or not. But we do have a risk scenario laid out that if the U.S. administration decides to put in 50% tariff on China and not put tariffs on everybody else on the world, then we think that the downturn in Asia, implications of tariffs, will be much more manageable this time. And there are a few reasons for that. One is that the corporate sector, we think, globally as well as in China, prepared for this potential increase in tariff. At the same time, if you recall last time what had happened is currencies depreciated and then that offset some part of that tariff increase. And China has now rewired its supply chain, i.e. that it's able to ship things out to the world and reduced dependence on the U.S. So we think if it is just tariffs on China, things might be manageable. But if there is 10% tariff on the rest of the world, strange as it may sound, it might actually be worse for China as well.
Yes.
And the reason for that is that the corporate sector will then have a problem in terms of thinking about sourcing.
What do you make of the fundamental underpinnings of the APAC region, Chetan? Because when you look at the US, the narrative there is about soft landing versus recession. Europe is looking fragile still. China remains fragile, looking for big stimulus there. Is it any coincidence, therefore, that last week the RBNZ, the BSP decided to adopt and cut policy and decided to adopt what seems like some preemptive easing action?
Yeah, so I think you are going to see Asian central banks take up rate cuts. But apart from China, we think that the region is generally just fine. And as you know, Japan is still talking about increasing rates. But Asia ex-China, ex-Japan, central banks will have some room opened up to cut rates, and we're expecting most of them to begin rate cuts in the fourth quarter, except for India, where we think that growth is strong.